I have been thinking about how immigration would look if we tried replacement migration without totally transforming the host nation. How would one replace the Japanese without replacing Japan? We are told that the immigrants will integrate and become more us than we ourselves are. Let's explore how that kind of immigration might look and see if the immigration we currently face matches it. I will take Ireland as my example and represent her with a very simple model. I will assume 60,000 births per year as a baseline. I assume no births after the age of 45. Therefore, you get 60,000 births per year for 45 years. That is 2.7 million people. Then the next generation, also 45 years, is another 2.7 million people. The starting population is 5.4 million. Let us assume that the birth rate for the Irish becomes 1.8. This means that the 60,000 per year people will grow up and produce 54,000 per year in the next generation. So in the next 45 years, 2.7 million people die out and are replaced by 2.43 million. Now for the immigration. We need the immigrants to assimilate completely, otherwise they retain some of their culture, and as their share of the population grows, their culture's share of the general culture grows. Each immigrant must find himself surrounded by Irish people. How surrounded need he be? How many people does an immigrant meet on a regular basis? Let's assume 10 people regularly, co-workers, neighbours, etc. Let's assume another 20 people for irregular meetings, waitresses, shopkeepers, bus drivers, bank tellers, etc. Let's also allow for chance meetings. The immigrant goes to a crowded venue and can meet all sorts of people, for example. Let's make this 30 people. These 30 people are random, therefore they're not the same people all year round. Let's assume that they're swapped out just once per year. Now the immigrant must be surrounded by 90 people. This is a generously low number. Therefore, for 60,000 births per year, there can be 667 immigrants per year. In 45 years, there are 2.7 million births and 30,000 immigrants. The Irish have a birth rate of 1.8, so the next generation will have 54,000 births per year. Let's assume that the immigrants have a birth rate of 3. Those 667 immigrants therefore have 1,000 children per year. That is 55,000 births in total per year. This means that there can now be just 567 immigrants per year. So it goes. At this rate, it takes 360 years for the Irish to become 49% of the births, and 405 years until the Irish are 42% of the total population. While this happened, the total population fell by 21% before recovering back to 7% higher than it first was. The immigrant population has barely passed 50% in 4 centuries. However, if these immigrants really do integrate, should their birth rates not fall to 1.8 after the first generation, the high birth rate should only last for the first generation. Under these conditions, after 405 years, the Irish remain 86% of the population and 86% of the births. The total population has fallen by almost 48% compared to the baseline. There has been no appreciable replacement in 4 centuries. So my conclusion is that it is in fact possible to replace the Irish and keep Ireland. However, this is not the immigration that we experience in real life. My immigration does not stop the population from declining for over 2 centuries. Immigration is designed to expand the population. It is supposed to depress wages by creating a surplus of workers, to increase property prices by creating a shortage of housing. Immigration is also supposed to retain the immigrants as a distinct group, who can then vote as a bloc for even more immigration. My immigrants fully integrate. Therefore, while it is theoretically possible to replace the Irish without replacing Ireland, it is not possible in real life. The motivation behind immigration requires the numbers to be too high for my type of immigration to handle. My kind of immigration exists only in a laboratory or a computer simulation. It exists in an ideal world. We live in the real world. Therefore, anyone claiming that you can have mass migration and not lose your nation as a result is wrong.